سر آسینه من دور
Welcome. As I said, this prologue we read is deemed to be the summary of Rumi's whole worldview. So the sessions we had is the foundation of everything we are going to learn from this point forward. And understanding them is dependent on understanding what we have learned so far. So it is of utmost importance. And we learn that something is missing inside all of us, which motivates some of us to look for an answer to a question which we cannot exactly put our fingers on it, but we somehow know it exists deep down. And neither science, nor religion, nor philosophy, or anything else has not been completely successful in providing that answer, although each provide part of it. I don't say they don't give some answers. Some people settle for that partial answer. Some combine them and find a more completed answer. But some, like Rumi, are seeking something more. This seeking reveals to them that what they actually lack is a sense of attachment and connection, something we usually try to find in love. So love becomes part of their remedy for that pain. But they soon realize that earthly love is always limited to the limitation of the object of love. They need something more, something that can provide them with wisdom to be able to reach that answer, that final understanding. So they start listening and learning and getting rid of all their preconceptions, whether philosophical or religious or scientific or otherwise. They all help, but when you listen, if you want to find things that may be beyond all of them, you should turn off those preconceptions, at least whilst listening, and just open your mind. They also find earthly attachment, these people, an obstacle, since they take up space in your mind and stop the flow of your free thinking towards the solution. So they find contentment as another ingredient for their remedy, another way to get closer to that answer. If they can find that attachment they seek in something beyond the normal earthly love we know, then they have found or are in the path to find a unity which is the glue that connects all their spiritual journey. They need some indolence, though, some distance from daily habitual life to see the real effect of unity in their soul. And if they get close to unity, they will definitely feel a kind of wonderment, and they may enjoy this feeling of awe so much that they may choose to immerse their whole life in it, lose themselves in love and this lack of perception process, and merge into this state and accept the absolute nothingness that comes with it. Here I want to go from Rumi to 17th century Britain and read you a poem by the famous metaphysical English poet John Donne. It's titled Love's Growth. So the poem goes like this by John Donne. I scarce believe my love to be so pure as I had thought it was, because it doth endure vicissitude and reason as the grass. Methinks I lied all winter when I swore my love was infinite if spring makes it more. But if medicine, love, which cures all sorrow, with more not only be no quintessence, but mixed of all stuffs, paining soul or sense, and of the sun his walking vigor borrow, love's not so pure and abstract as they use to say, which have no mistress but their muse, but as all else being elemental too, love sometimes would contemplate, sometimes do. And yet, no greater, but more eminent, love by the spring is grown, as in the firmament stars by the sun are not enlarged, but shown gentle love deeds as blossoms on a bough from love's awakened root to bud out now. If as water stirred more circles be produced by one, love such additions take, those like so many spheres but one heaven make, for they are all concentric unto thee. And though each spring do add to love new heat, as princes do in time of action get new taxes, and remit them not in peace, no winter shall abate the spring's increase. I am not going to interpret this poem by John Donne, as it is not Rumi, and it is not part of our main discussion, but I thought it is useful to see how great thinkers, even in Anglophone world, although maybe 400 years after Rumi, got to the very similar conclusions. For Donne, love is working just as it works for Rumi, and spring is his motive of masterful and wise use of this force of love, just as the instrument ney was for Rumi. To conclude this session, I want to mention two main things that is why we are here. Then we, based on another important patient text, I want to give you an exercise, a final exercise. And then the other thing, the reason that we are here is the final evaluation process. So firstly, we should not forget that two things, two pains, one deterministically born with us, and another what we chose to escape, the first one, the pain of love. The first one is the lack of connectedness. It is nothing much different from what Lacan, the famous French psychanalyst, calls objet petit a, but maybe how we want to deal with it is a bit different. We know it should be answered by something that fulfill that desire for Lacanian objet a, and the most common answer to that, although not the only one, is love. But through Rumi, we also learned that love will be useless and incomplete unless we choose a very specific and hard to find kind of love, of which we talked a lot and will be talking more, which itself has a very hard and painful path ahead. So actually what we are doing is just substituting one pain with another, but while the first one is never ending, it's a never ending lacking sense, the second one is promising. It's optimistic, and through time it is soothing. It has a soothing aspect that overshadows the harming side. Now, we are at the end of our raw part, and I will read you a short part of a book called Risale-i Sepahsalar, which is a book written in Persian by one of Mowlana's disciples about him and his life. It is considered one of the most accurate historical accounts of Mowlana's life. And based on that, I will give you two exercises which will help you in your making of the remedy. The part I want to mention from this text is this part that I read again, first in Persian, and then I will provide you with the English translation. در مدت 40 سال که این ضعیف ملازم حضرتش بود و پیوسته چون پرگار سر بر نقطه آستان داشتی، ایشان را جامعه خواب و بالش ندید و جهت آسایش یک شب ایشان را بر پهلو خفته مشاهده نکردم. چون خارخار محبت حق تعالی پیوسته محرک وجود ریاضت یافته حضرت ایشان شده بود، لاجرم از صفت حال خویش می‌فرماید: چه آساید به هر پهلو که خسبد، کسی کز خار دارد او نهالین. و در غزلی دیگر می‌فرماید: قدس الله سره، اگر خواب آیدم امشب سزای ریش خد بیند، به جای مفرش و بالین همه مشت و لگد بیند. چون خواب از تن آسانی و آسایش و ترتیب دماغ حاصل می شود و این جمله از کثرت مجاهده و ریاضت آن حضرت را نبود، لاجرم در بیخوابی شأن عظیمی داشت و در آن حال از ایشان کلماتی عالی صادر گشته است. Again in English. In the 40 years in which he truly served His Holiness and was constantly around him, I have not seen him with sleeping gowns or pillows or mattresses, and never seen him resting on his side, not even for one full night. It must be because the thorns of the higher truth of love was constantly stimulating His Holiness's abstinent soul, so as he says himself of his situation in a poem: how can one rest on one side or the other if their bedstead is made of thorns? And in another poem, God sanctifies his soul, he says, if sleep comes to me tonight, it will see the retaliation it deserves. Instead of mattress and blanket, it will see me kicking it out. Since sleep is correlated with the ease of body and mind and the refreshment of the brain, and none of these were in His Holiness's abstinent lifestyle, thus he had a grand eminency in sleeplessness, in which great words and ideas was expressed by him. So this was the translation of the text, which was from Sepah Salar, written about Rumi's life. It is incredible how this view to sleeplessness as a means to bypass conscious perception process, which includes our preconceptions, is similar to the phenomenology of perception by philosopher and psychologist Maurice Merleau-Ponty. Again, a very modern idea which we can find in Rumi. Once again, even by reading a description of Mowlana, we see how ahead of his time he was. So here we are, and here is where our second week ends. But I would say all of the previous sessions will be worth nothing if you do not do your exercise and evaluate yourself before going forward for week 3. So first of all, I encourage you to rewatch everything that you think you may have not understood or you may have forgotten. But other than that, you have 2 exercises. You want to develop the 2 ingredients for our eventual remedy with these exercises. For love, immerse yourself in what you love. Whether it is an art, or your job, or playing video games, or having sex, or drinking tea, or having a conversation, or anything else. Just find a time, preferably a few hours, and completely immerse yourself in that activity or that thing or that person. And while doing that, repeatedly think and remind yourself that you love what you are doing at that moment, that it is giving you the feeling of attachment, and you are doing this as a service to yourself, because acts of service is a way of showing love, and you are showing love to your subconscious through a conscious act of service. For contentment, which is your second exercise, we want to follow Rumi's footsteps. Choose a time, like a weekend, when you don't have to go to walk or drive or do anything tricky or dangerous, of course. And even if you can take a day off work, hire a babysitter for a couple of days to take care of your little kids if you have in house, and then resist sleeping. You want to train your body and mind to accept not having what they crave for that contentment. So resist sleeping as much as you can, more than 24 hours preferably, and even the more the better. And consider either of these two things your permission to go to sleep. Either you get so sleep deprived that you start hallucinating. Write down or record in a voice note things that you see, your hallucinations, the things that come to your mind, with as much detail as you are able to. Do it for a short while and then go to sleep. The other permission you can get is if you don't get into hallucination literally, but crazy ideas and fresh and unusual things start to come to your mind. Again, document them in any way you can, and then have your well-deserved sleep. You will be amazed by the revelations you receive in that state of trance. There's also a twofold self-evaluation. If you have coaching sessions with me as part of your enrollment, you can also check these evaluations with me. Otherwise, that would be your own judgment, and it is a self-evaluation. This is based on the two first practices that Mowlana provided for us in the Prologue to Masnavi: non-judgmental listening and turning insolence into indolence. For this self-evaluation, I am not going to give you a questionnaire or anything, because we are in a spiritual journey, not a psychology session. It is you who should learn to be honest with yourself. So, in a scale of 1 to 10, how much your ability to listening and accepting everything non-judgmentally has improved in the last 2 weeks? How much you can accept things that were very unacceptable and so much against your personal beliefs now, more than 2 weeks ago? And the second thing is, again, in a scale of 1 to 10, how much you have been successful in turning your insolence into indolence, your audacity towards life into a nonchalant apathy. After doing these two evaluations, write down your two numbers and also evidential examples for each, like the things that you have noticed that had happened in the last 2 weeks, which are examples of you being more open-minded to listening non-judgmentally, or being more nonchalant and empathetic towards your desires in life. If you like, you can even share your results with your fellow learners in the comment section below this lesson, and with me, of course. Even if you don't have a coaching session, you can comment. But that is not the only thing I want you to do in the comment section. To give me feedback, let me know how I can improve these sessions, or my previous session, if I had to revise them, or my future courses. I am looking forward to reading your feedbacks. پاینده باشید.